Yo, what's up, Exiles? Today I'm bringing you some beginner tips and tricks to help you get through what is the amazing campaign of Path of Exile 2 so that you can get to the endgame and start blasting maps like you see in the gameplay footage on screen. There will be timestamps, so if you already know something that we're covering, you can skip around and get exactly the information that you're looking for. If this video helped you learn anything at all, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, as that greatly helps me out. Enough with the yapping, let's get right into it, starting with what I think is the most important, using the world map. There's a lot of information on the world map that's very easily missable by players, myself included. When I first started Path of Exile, I did not use the world map, and I really wish that I did. If you look closely at the world map, you'll see skulls around the map, you'll see some chests, you'll see a loot over here, but if you look closer at those items, some of them have a plus sign next to them. What that means is it applies a permanent buff to your character. Bira of the Rotten Pack gives you plus 10 to your cold resistance, and this is in the very first zone as soon as you leave the first town. Please, as you're progressing through the campaign, make sure you're opening up the world map for each zone that you're in so that you can make sure that you don't miss out on any of these permanent buffs and you don't have to go back later and get them. Also, if you see a little cave on some of the waypoints, if you click it, you go underground and it has the zones that are underground, and the same rules apply. They have the skulls for the bosses, side quests. It actually looks like I might have missed this one right here. So if you see, they're all grayed out, which means you've completed them. This one is not grayed out, so it looks like I actually missed one myself. So maybe I should go back and rewatch my own video. Next, let's talk about the skill tree. A new player opening up the skill tree and seeing this massive constellation is very daunting. But there is a way to tackle it and approach it so that it is a little bit less intimidating. When you're hovering nodes, you'll see words and you might not know what they mean. Stagger, for example. But if you notice, it's underlined. So if you hold Alt on your keyboard and you hover the word stagger, it'll tell you exactly what stagger does. Remember, you hold Alt, you hover the underlined word, tells you exactly what it does. This is absolutely massive. Take your time, read through what these nodes do. If you're confused on some of the verbiage that's being used, like I said, you just hold left Alt, you can read the underlined words. And that doesn't only apply to the skill tree, it also applies to your skills as well. If you look at Sunder, just for example, you hold left Alt and you just hover any word that's underlined and you can get a detailed explanation on what that means. Also, if you look up in the top left of the skill, it says AoE, melee, slam. These are what the ability scales off of. So if you go into your skill tree and you build area of effects, you guessed it, Sunder is going to have a bigger AoE as it's an AoE skill. Melee damage will also scale this ability, and anything that says slam, you got it, will also scale this ability, and that goes for every skill that's in the game. Reading is power in this game. Take your time, don't rush, make sure you read everything. This next tip is something that I'm sure everybody, at least most players, probably know already. I'm sure this isn't your first action RPG game, and I'm pretty sure it's a mechanic that's in most, but if you get a new piece of gear and you want to compare it to the gear you're currently wearing, mousing over each one like this is not the way. All you have to do on a piece of gear, if you just hold left shift, it'll put both pieces of gear, the one that you have equipped and the one that you're hovering, side by side, and you can just easily compare it that way. Like I said, I'm sure most people know this already, but I felt it was necessary to put it in the video just in case, as this is just going to save you a bunch of time. Let's talk about support gems. Support gems are something that you put into your main moves to alter the way that they act. Stampede, for example. I have a support gem in Stampede called Devastate. Supported skills fully break armor when they inflict a heavy stun. Devastate is nowhere on this support gem list. So how did I find it? If you go down to the bottom left corner, it says show recommended gems. You uncheck that and it'll show a full list of every single support gem that is applicable, words are hard, with Stampede. And that's where I found Devastate. Just make sure, once again, you take your time, you read. If you're unsure of what a support gem does, hold left alt, and you could hover the underlined words, and it'll give a very detailed description of what that does. Let's talk about the Salvage Bench. You get the Salvage Bench after one of the side quests in Act 1, I believe. I'm not going to tell you which one for spoilers and everything, but eventually you do get a Salvage Bench. Now, what you can do here is you can use it on items that have sockets like these. And if you salvage one of those items, you get shards, artificer shards. I think I pronounced that right. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you get 10 of these shards, it turns into an orb, an artificer's orb. And what this does is you can socket your gear with these, right? You can add a socket to an item that doesn't have a socket. I wouldn't, if you find items during your travels that have sockets already, I wouldn't sell these. Obviously, you know, identify them, make sure that it's not an upgrade for your character. And if it isn't, use the Salvage Bench. Stack up on these shards because you're going to be upgrading your gear pretty frequently and you're going to need to put sockets in them. It'll save you time in the long run so you don't have to worry about it later. You'll have a nice stack of the orbs so that you can socket your gear. The next thing I want to talk about are the merchants. I feel like the merchants are probably very, very underutilized, but they have some very, very good gear at times. Renly, for example, in Act 1, he's your weapons, your armor, all of that good stuff. Please check what they have in stock. Sometimes they are selling very, very good gear that will be a huge upgrade for your character. Also, make sure you check them every level, as the shopkeeper's inventory, they refresh after every single level. And like I said, sometimes you will find gems in this inventory. It'll be a huge upgrade to your character. Also, while you're playing through the campaign and those gray items drop and all that, and you're leaving them because they're not for your character, take an extra minute, pick up those items, put your town portal down, come back, sell them. You're going to need gold. Gold is to respec your character on the passive tree if you need to respec. Obviously to buy gear from the shopkeepers. It's very important. Please don't neglect the shopkeepers. Renly in Act 1 is the one who sells weapons and armor. Una, for you spellcasters, he'll have your scepters, he'll have your wands, your flasks, amulets, rings, all that good stuff. And also too with the flasks, don't neglect the flasks. These are lifesavers. Make sure you update your flasks every 10 levels. Make sure you're using the highest level flask, all of that good stuff for extra survivability. Another thing I forgot to mention about the shopkeepers is the one who sells all the magic items, they can actually disenchant. Now, items that you want to disenchant, if you're good on gold and you just want some more crafting mats, regal shards, and all of that stuff, you can actually disenchant your yellow items, and it'll give you a regal shard. If you accumulate 10 regal shards, you get a regal orb. What a regal orb does is it adds a modifier to a blue item and turns it into a rare item. You're going to want these for crafting. And while we're on the topic, let's go over what some of the basic crafting mats do. So you have your Orbs of Transmutation, upgrades a normal item to a magic item. I don't have any normal items, or I would show you how it works. But it'll add one modifier to it, and it'll turn your gray item into a blue. Your Orb of Augmentation, you use that on the item that you just used the Orb of Transmutation on. It'll add another new modifier. Your Regal Orb then turns that item into a yellow item with, you guessed it, another modifier. And then you can use an Exalted Orb to augment a rare item with a new random modifier. I would save your Exalted Orbs. I wouldn't use them through the campaign unless you have a huge abundance of them. They're what seems to be the main currency right now in Endgame to buy items from other players from the trade website, which we will go over in the video. We will go over the trade site. Also, there's Orbs of Alchemy. You can use that on a gray item, and it'll just give it 4 modifiers and automatically make it rare. So, oh, and a Chaos Orb, of course. What this will do, now this is a gamble, it will take off a modifier at random on the piece of gear that you have, and it'll just add a random modifier to it. So those are like the basic currencies, and like I said, we will go over the trade website as well. I forgot one more thing about the merchants. There's so much to talk about with the merchants that they're so strong. There will be a gamble merchant in every town as you progress through the acts. In this one, it is an NPC named Finn. Buy or sell items, and as you see, random one-handed mace. It's a complete gamble. But let me tell you, some of the items you get from these gambles are pretty good. If you have extra gold and you need a piece of gear, and you know Renly doesn't have the chest piece you're looking for, you find the chest piece that you're using, the base that you're using. This one is just straight armor. There's armor and evasion, armor energy shield, and you got some gold lying around. Do that gamble. Buy some chest pieces. Maybe you'll find something nice. Now me on this one, I didn't. I'm just gonna sell all these back. But sometimes you find, you know, like this. This would be great for early game. Plus 33 to armor and 11 fire resistance. 31 to armor, cold resistance, some life regen. And if you followed the tips that I gave you earlier in the video, maybe you disenchanted some stuff and you got a nice little stack of regal orbs lying around, and you want to use one of those to upgrade this chest piece, that could be a huge upgrade for you. Stun threshold, I mean, it's good. We could have did better. What are you going to do? That's what it is. It's a gamble. Now, see, on this one, we got another resistance, which is awesome. But I also want life regen. Orb of augmentation, we got armor. We're going to bink another regal orb on there. We got fire res. But sometimes the gamble guy will give you rare gear that is a huge upgrade. I wish we would have gotten something that was actually pretty decent from him, but we were unable to. Also, if you're really addicted to the gambling, the vendor actually has a limited stock of gambles that you can do. More stock is accrued by killing unique monsters up to the given limit, which is 100. But yeah, like I said, if you got extra gold lying around and you're willing to, you know, take a gamble on a piece of gear that you need, that's the guy you go to. And it is actually really powerful. Let's talk about the trade website. The trade website it's so amazing. You can search for any item that you're interested in. Let's just say, for an example, you're a warrior and you're looking for a nice two-handed mace. So you go down to item category, you just type in mace, two-handed mace, and you can hit search. All the two-handed maces that people have listed on the trade website will be right here. Let's say you want to get a little bit more into it, right? You know exactly what stats you want on your mace. Let's say you're a physical damage dealer. You're doing physical damage. You type in physical. Now you click increased physical damage. Now you hit search. Now all of your results are going to be weapons that have % increased physical damage. Let's add you know, flat fizz as well. Let's add flat physical damage. So now it's going to have both of those. And now if you want to sort it by the one that has the most physical damage, you just click whatever stat you want to show at the top that has the most out of all the items listed. You can do that. Obviously, 60 divine orbs, you know, who's got that? 200. But now what you can do to take it even further, buyout price. You want to shop with exalted orbs and you have a budget. You only have 10 exalted orbs. You want to buy the best weapon you can for 10 exalted orbs. You change this at the buyout price to exalted orbs, the max 10, search, and now it's going to have the two stats that you put in the stat filters. Those will be showing, and it's only going to be showing items that are from 1 to 10 exalted orbs. Take your time on the trade website. You can do this for any piece of gear. It's not limited to weapons. That's why I said earlier in the video, make sure you save your exalted orbs. I think it's more beneficial to use your exalted orbs for shopping rather than trying to just add a modifier onto a weapon when you don't really know what you're going to get. The last thing that I wanted to mention is after every single act that you progress through, like after you finish Act 1, you'll get to Act 2. Once you hit Act 2, it'll actually lower your max resistances by 10%. All right, if you had 35 fire res by the end of Act 1, once you get to Act 2, you're going to have 25% fire res. So those fire enemies are going to be hitting a little bit harder. Make sure after every act you check that, you update your gear to stay on top of those resistances. I cannot stress enough how important resistances are in this game. If you neglect your resistances, you will get punished. There you have it. I really hope I was able to help you guys out and maybe learned a thing or two to make your playthrough go smoothly. If you did learn anything, be sure to like and subscribe so I can keep bringing more Path of Exile 2 content. I also stream every single day on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chenzio9. The link will be down in the description. Be sure to stop by. We'd love to have you. Also, if there's anything that you think I forgot that would help someone else's playthrough go smoother, something you wish that you knew before your playthrough, be sure to drop it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate it. Until next time, mwah!